Welcome back.
Okay, we're back. Our guest today is Governor.
Gavin?
Yeah.
Arnold.
Oh,
I like this one better. Okay, so we're talking about the governor. So a little bit of, yeah, we're waiting for you. So,
There he is.
okay, so, all right, so a little bit of recap here. We're going to be talking about constant speed propellers. And we got to think about two different type of constant speed propellers. One that goes on a twin engine aircraft and one that goes on a single engine aircraft, right?
Mhm.
So, blade. Centrifugal twisting force without counterweights makes it go to,
low pitch.
and oil pressure makes it go to
High pitch.
high pitch. Okay, should go that way. So, if it's a twin, it's going to have counterweights, and we lose oil pressure, it's going to go
High pitch.
loss of oil pressure. It's going to go this way.
Yeah.
Okay, takes oil pressure to make it go back to low pitch. Yeah. Okay. Just ignore which way I turn it because I'm not doing it right. Okay. So the governor is the thing that senses the engine RPM and it will tell the prop what to do based on the pilot input. So pilot input is a blue knob. It will simply put pressure on this spring up here. More pressure or less pressure. All right? We can figure out which way more pressure and less pressure is in a minute. But then on top of that, we have flyweights. And the flyweights
Fly.
spin around. If I get dizzy and throw up, it's going this way.
You should sit on the chair and then we'll just.
Ah, there we go. The flyweights spin around, and as you go faster, they go out. And then when I slow down, they come in, right?
Yep.
Okay. Because it's I'm not saying I've ever done this because I'm recording it and I've had foster kids, but if you take a kid and get him to roll a ball and you spread your legs and you get you right here like that on a wood floor, oh my God. Like when they get up, their eyes just go like that. Oh, it's a YouTube video on that. Okay. I've never done it. All right, so the flyweights, when they go around like that, right? Over speed, on speed, under speed. So if it goes faster than what the input is for the speeder spring up here, pressing down, goes faster, it presses against the spring, goes into overspeed.
Yep.
No matter what, single, twin, whatever. That's overspeed. This is on speed, underspeed. Okay, it's going to lift up a pilot valve. This pilot valve, depending on, this is where it changes, if it's a single or a twin, will be dependent upon how this pilot valve is made. So it's made for a single engine aircraft, CTF, oil pressure to increase, okay? So it's made so that when it goes into overspeed, it means it's going too fast. We need to increase the blade angle. So overspeed lifts up the pilot valve, always, no matter what. It will take oil pressure from the governor boost pump and let me see what I don't know which route it through the pilot valve and out to the propeller line to increase the pitch. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to increase the pitch, start increasing the pitch. It's going to slow the aircraft engine down because you have more blade angle. So it's like climbing a hill in the car. So slow it down, it goes back into on speed. Well, it drops down the pilot valve. So the pilot valve starts dropping down and it will block off this port right here. So oil cannot go to the prop and it can't come back from the prop. And the oil pressure here that the gears are making just goes into a recirculation, comes up through here into the relief valve, back down, around and back and around. Just goes into a recirc loop. Got it? Okay. Then maybe the engine goes a little bit too slow. Well, when it goes a little bit too slow, it's going to drop the pilot valve back down, which would allow oil pressure from the prop to come through here, find its way through here, and just drain out the bottom. When it drains out the bottom, it releases the piston in the prop to go back to flatten out and speed back up. Was it over? There we go. Speed back up. Got it? Okay. In a twin, it just works the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I say the opposite. So we get into an overspeed condition. It's going too fast. We got to slow it down. But to slow it down, overspeed condition lifts up the pilot valve, but it's a twin. So now it's going to drain oil, and the centrifugal twisting force, because of the counterweights on the prop, will allow it to start going to higher blade angle. And then if we go to, what did I just do? I did underspeed. Okay, we go to overspeed. I was overspeed. Now, that goes into underspeed. Underspeed, we got to speed it up. Speed it up. Okay, it takes oil pressure. So underspeed always drops the pilot. Oil goes around, goes to the dome, and forces the prop to go into a lower blade angle. So as a pilot, we have the blue knob. All we're doing is adjusting the speeder spring. So if I add pressure, it's going to go into a underspeed and go to low blade angle. So when I push it in is high RPM, low blade angle, which must mean it goes to underspeed. And it stays in kind of all the way in, it sort of stays in I would say it kind of stays in a perpetual over, but it doesn't. Because it's designed, and we as mechanics are going to set this up, that it isn't an underspeed until it gets to red line. So like my plane 2400, as soon as I get to red line, boom, the governor kicks in. And it starts fluctuating the blade angle, adds a little blade angle, keeps it right there at 2400. If my governor was broken and not working, then it would go all the way to the low pitch stops inside the propeller. And I don't know what mine would do, probably 25, 50, 2600, maybe 100, 150 RPM, more than it should. So when they set up the props at the prop shop, they do have internal stops on the prop. But the governor is the thing that holds it at that 25, or mine 24. What is yours, 2750?
28.
Damn, 2850. So, but still at 2850, it's going to stop right at 2850. Boom. Why? Because the governor's supposed to be set there. Good? I don't know. Did I lose you? Got it? All right, so just looking at it again. Pilot control speed. What happens if the speeder spring breaks?
It's going to be an
Perpetual overspeed. So it goes into perpetual overspeed. What's the prop going to do?
it's going to increase weight.
Oh yeah, mine's going to go all the way to high pitch stop. Go all the way to there. Now what happens? If I have an emergency?
Engine decreases.
Nah, just higher manifold pressure. I'm going to fly home that way. I'm not going to do it. When I come into land, I'm going to have to consider the fact that you got to make this landing work, because it's not going to want to do a go around at the high pitch. Probably would if I had to. I'm not going to try it unless I have to. All right. So we got to know overspeed, underspeed, on speed. Okay, we talked about the transfer collar. This is something that I was playing around with I don't know, Microsoft or something. I don't know, it's just a minute or two. 18 minutes.
All right, this is probably take number 25 here. All right, so what I want to do is, so much of what we're talking about here, propellers and engine RPM, manifold pressure, and operation of an aircraft would be so much easier if I could take everybody up flying and you could experience it and play with the controls. But that becomes a little difficult with a lot of students and the cost and expense of taking you offline. So we are going to use X-Plane here, and we're going to use the Baron here, the Beech Baron 58. And this appears to be a normally aspirated, fuel-injected engines on this particular aircraft, and we are going to go for a flight. So, all right, change my screen here, take us back inside the cockpit. Back inside the cockpit. Hey, there we go. Okay, so what we want to do first thing is, there's an airplane right there. We got to get this thing started. So to start a fuel injected engine. First, we'd bring up the battery, and I just usually turn on my alternators while I'm there so I don't end up forgetting, is we would bring up, we'll start the left engine first. We're going to bring up the mixture, bring up a little bit of fuel here. We only need that one forward. And we're going to watch the fuel flow right there. So watching the fuel flow, I'm going to bring on the boost pump. And we get a little fuel flow. Once we get fuel flow showing, then we can bring it over here, hit the start.
X-plane starts really nice.
Engine goes ahead and starts for us. All right, bring that back to idle. So we're idling the left engine. Now the nice thing about X-plane, honestly, is you can cheat a little bit. You don't need to do all that. You can just go ahead and click the starter. Once you bring in the mixture. So you can cheat. You can't cheat that much. All right, so we've got both engines now up and running. We'll bring up our avionics master. We're lined up at McClellan on runway 16, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. There's our control tower over there, and there's the big building right outside of our hangar. And I guess we can look, well, so if we look a little bit left, we'd see our hangar. You'd be mad at me if I didn't do it. So let me see. Can I look left? There we go. You can't really tell. But we're over there, right? Okay, so here we are lined up on the runway.
What did I say?
And what I wanted, there we go. There's our control tower over there, and there's the big building right outside of our hangar. And I guess we can look, well, so if we look a little bit left, we'd see our hangar. You'd be mad at me if I didn't do it. So let me see. Can I look left? There we go. You can't really tell. But we're over there, right? Okay, so here we are lined up on the runway. And what I want to do here, because that's really not so much a flight demo, is I want to kind of get this thing going in autopilot. So we're going to take the cursor, bring the cursor around to runway heading so that we can just take off and use the autopilot to do most of what I need to do here. All right. Well, like any good pilot, we'd want to do a run up, wouldn't we? So back up here so we can look at the controls and our gauges all at the same time. So we have manifold pressure up top, RPM, fuel flow, CHT, EGT, oil temp, oil pressure, and we have the brakes on. So we're going to bring up one engine. We'll bring up the left side, give it to about 1700 RPM, 1700, and if we do a mag check. So
Can you guys see this okay? Okay. By the way, notice this little thing right here?
Yes.
It's an indicator. It shows you which engine's turning faster. It's a sync.
we can watch the RPM is going to drop, and our EGT should go up a little bit, so we'll check it out. I got a little bit of a drop, and maybe a little bit of EGT. So go back to both. Then do left. Runs good on the left. Runs good on the right. Back to both. And bring that back down. Bring this one up to 1700. Touchy throttles there. And do the same thing. Left. Back to both. Right. Back to both. And what I didn't do last time, I should have done, is we will do a propeller cycle. Now this thing is very sensitive, so as we pull this back, whoosh, we get a big propeller cycle there. I wouldn't really do that in a real airplane, but let's, I wouldn't do this in an airplane either, but here we're going to see what happens here. So I got both engines back to idle. Now let's bring them both up to, let's go wide open throttle, and we're on the brakes. And you will notice that our manifold pressure comes just about 1 inch below our current, so 29.92, 30, so about an inch below, that's about 2 inches below. We can see that both of the RPMs have hit red line, which they're supposed to do. Let me zoom in a little bit on the stuff. So right at red line, a little bit low. I won't probably want to consider adjusting that. We'll see what happens when we release the brakes. Fuel flow, that's a lot of gallons per hour. And we can see our CHT, EGTs, oil temp is going up, oil pressure is at the top of the green. So we wouldn't normally do this on a pre-run, just sit here and run both engines wide open throttle, but wanted you to see what's happening right there. All right, so we'll pull these back to idle, and we are ready for takeoff. So Notice again, manifold pressure at idle. We have a significant suction at idle. We are idling at about 900 RPM. Fuel flow is less than 5 gallons per hour. CHTs are down below 150, oil temp around 80. So as we bring up the throttle and release the brakes, let's see what happens. We're going to go wide open here. And I kind of have to look out the window as I'm doing this. We'll see what happens. Release the brakes, start the roll. And we can see they're right up to red line. Looking over here at my airspeed, time to pull up. And get the gear up. Gears up. And like I said, I don't really want to sit here and fly this as we're talking. So what I'm going to do is come down here, turn on my autopilot, and go to heading mode. Autopilot lit up right there. Go to heading mode. Heading mode, so it's going to follow that little bug right there. And we're climbing about 2,000 feet per minute. So I can let go of the yoke over here. And we're looking pretty good. So, all right. So, note that, I'm just kind of getting carried away here. There we go. Climbing nice. Note that our manifold pressure is going to start dropping. It's going to start dropping simply because we're going up in altitude and we just don't have the atmosphere that we had a little bit more. That didn't make sense, sorry. We're going to have the manifold pressure is going to be dropping because we don't have the same outside air pressure. As we go up, air pressure is going to decrease, obviously, and it's going to also it's going to show right here at the same time. Now you'll see that the props are in fact out of sync, even though I have them both forward. Well, that one's back just a little bit. There we go. All right, and we can turn on the prop sync. Well, let's get them out of sync just a little tiny bit. See if the prop sync on this thing works. So propeller sync. One active governor to adjust. Look at that. Right there shows us that both propellers are in fact going at the same speed. So there we go. We're climbing out. We're at 2,900. We're doing about a little over 1,500 feet per minute. We are doing 120 knots. And we're seeing our manifold pressure go down, down, down. And that's fine. It's what it's supposed to do. So normally after a climb out, in my particular plane, I'd back off on the manifold pressure a little bit, but hey, this is a rented airplane, so we can just keep flogging it here. So we're going to get up here, I think about 4,000 feet is going to be just fine for what we need to do. So let's go hit our altitude hold right here. It's going to oscillate quite a bit, so I should probably kind of bring it in, help it out a little bit. All right, so we've leveled off here right about 6,300. Still going to do some of its oscillations because I got everything wide open. But once we've reached our cruising altitude, we're going to pull back on our throttles, and we're going to see that the RPM is going to stay right here at red line, and the manifold pressure is actually the thing that I'm going to move because throttles are going to control that. So we'll bring this back to about 20 inches just for the heck of it. So we're at about 20 and a half, 21 inches. And now notice, like I said, the RPM is going to stay right where it is. Well, the RPM is staying there because the propellers flatten out as I pull back the manifold pressure. Now, if I continue to do it and pull back the throttles, pull back the throttles, pull back the throttles, pull back the throttles, at some point, the prop is going to go all the way to its low pitch stop if they program this right. And it just simply can't keep that RPM. Well, this particular programming, there we go, just a little bit delayed. So now you can see that it won't do that. But we'll bring this back up to 20 inches.
Do you get that? It's so important that you understand that. And that's why I did this whole video, is because for a lot of people, I know it's so confusing once you add in that propeller knob. And it's like, well, wait a minute. When you took off, when you're doing stuff, the black knobs were the throttle. And we got RPM out of it. And you can pull it back, and it would slow down. You can speed up, you can slow down. Now suddenly we're up in the air, and you're pulling back and you're messing with these throttles, and the RPM hasn't moved at all. But what does move? Manifold pressure, okay, because you have to think about it. Once we get up into the upper ends of the engine, maybe it's easier to think about it that way, then it works a little different. Then the black knobs become strictly a manifold pressure knob. The blue knob becomes RPM knob, and the red, of course, is still mixture. So that's why I did this. You can really confuse people. Hopefully this is making sense to you. Any questions about this or how it works? Okay. It's not too boring? Be like, yeah, nobody wants to say yes.
So like I said, at some point, you bring the throttles back, the prop goes all the way to flat, and then you just can't keep up. So you're going to start losing RPM. You can only do it so much. All right, so right there we've got about 21 inches, and let's see if we can pull the props back right here. Here goes the green knobs, pulling them back. We're going to pull that back to an RPM of about 21 inches. Now notice my manifold is actually going up as I'm doing that. It's slowing the engine down, it's giving cylinders more time to fill up, which means the manifold pressure is going up, so I have to pull back my manifold just a little bit more. Back to 21, so there we go. So we're about 20 and a half, so 20 and a half here, 20 and a half there, and we're flying along right here at 15 gallons per hour. But given that we're at 6,400, we can certainly try leaning it out a little bit. We'll lean out the left to begin with. So let's watch our EGT right here and see what happens. So as we pull this back, we're going to be extracting more and more work energy out of the mixture, and it should, sorry, we're looking at this one over here, should be going up, 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 and we're going to look for peak. Normally I do this a little bit slower. There we go. Peak EG just happens to be, they programmed at the top of that. Now we're going back the other way, so we can go back up a little bit. Let's find peak. So peak is right there, just happens to be at the top of the arc, just because of the way they programmed it that way. And now we're flying along at peak EGT, and we can either enrich in it and go 50, 75 degrees rich at peak, right there. I've enriched it, or we can go back to peak. I'm going to pull it back to peak.
Do you see EGT?
Yeah.
And, oops, went too far. So we go to peak.
That's right, start there.
Let's try back to peak, back to peak. Oops, that was the wrong button to push. All right, mixture's full. Let's pull it back to peak. Right about there, so we're at peak. Go shot just a little bit peak. So we can either go forward to go 50 degrees rich of peak, or backwards and go lean of peak. So let's take this one and we'll go lean of peak and see what happens. We'll go lean of peak, pull it back a little bit, a little bit. There we go. Now it's starting to drop. So now we went down. If each one is 25, we went down 25 or 50 degrees lean of peak. Now we do the same thing on the right engine. We can pull it back. If we can find peak. Peak is right about there. Now notice the difference in fuel flow. So this one's 8 gallons per hour, and this one over here is 10 gallons per hour at peak. So we can go rich at peak.
There's no way
We should be going forward on this one. So we have the left engine at lean of peak, the right engine rich of peak. Both of them are 50 degrees cool, so 50 degrees lean of peak, 50 degrees rich of peak, and you can see the difference in fuel flow. This one is at 13 gallons per hour, and that one is at 8 gallons per hour. Well, this engine over here is actually producing quite a bit more. I'm sorry, this engine here is producing, the right side be producing more power. I pretty much guarantee that one. Well, number one, we have a split in our manifold pressure. You can see that. So yeah, more power. So we'll bring this one back up to match. Bring it back up to peak. And bring it right back in. There we go. So now we're running in both of those about over 13 gallons per hour. Manifold pressures are matched. RPMs are matched. Our indicator right here shows that we have a matched engine RPM and propeller RPM. All right, so there we go. So that's how it works. Now, just to play around a little bit with things, again, if I start pulling back or playing with the throttles, I'll do both at the same time. If I put the throttles forward, RPM is going to stay the same. Manifold pressure is going to go up, going up a little bit. And if I pull back, we are going to start losing manifold pressure. So if we look up here, we can see the manifold pressure. Forward, get more manifold pressure, pull it back, less manifold pressure, but our RPM stays locked on target because the blue knobs control the RPM. So we can go back to 20, whatever, get 21. All right, and if I hit the right buttons here, I can't move them both at the same time unless I use my keyboard. So there we go. So pull the props back, pull them back. We're going to see our RPM decreasing, and coincidentally, manifold pressure will change. Or we can bring the props forward, and that will increase our RPM. So this is going to, blue is RPM, black is going to control manifold pressure to a point when dropping down, and the red knob is going to control our mixture. All right, so we are flying along. Let's have a little fun with this thing here. And let's look out the window over here. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see. There we go. We got a prop spinning over there. We can see it spinning. And what happens if we have an engine problem and we have to put that engine away? All right, so let's say we're having a drop in oil pressure over here, went down to 0, or we need to shut it down. So what we're going to do, we can pull the mixture all the way back. That kills the engine. We'll take the propeller, pull it past the gate all the way back into feather. And we'll take a look outside and see what we've got going on. And let's see, we've got an engine there in feather. So it's going to look just like that. So now we're flying along on the right engine only. So it's out there spinning away. Guess we can't really see it. But notice back over here, thankfully, our prop sync didn't lock it in. But we have an engine on the right side spinning much, much faster. There we go. Locked in. Okay. Okay, so we now need to start our engine back up. Now, if this had an accumulator, we'll bring our mixture back up so we can start when we want to. If it had an accumulator, all I would need to do is take this propeller level and pull it forward, and that would have the accumulator would put oil pressure into the propeller, taking it out of feather and start windmilling. But it doesn't have an accumulator. You can tell because we just put it forward and didn't work. So to start it, we're now going to come over here to the starter and just hit the start button. And as soon as it starts, the oil pressure is going to come up, bring that prop back into a lower pitch, and start running. Of course, now we need to match our propeller RPMs. Prop sync is still on, so I think as long as I get close with this one, we should work. So there we go. Flying around, that's how it works.
Okay, we got that. So when you have a twin engine aircraft, you have to go into the feather, you have to be able to go into the feather position. So as I showed you in the video, you bring the prop all the way back, because bringing it back is which position? Com-
Lower.
Low RPM. Low RPM, high pitch. Well, what's more than high pitch? Feather. All right, so all the way forward is this.
Low.
Bring it back a little bit, it's gonna do that. Bring it back all the way, it's gonna do that. All right, you just keep going, it goes all the way back. But there is a detent in the throttle quadrant. You usually have to lift up or go around a corner or do something so that the pilot doesn't inadvertently pull it back too far. So when you do that, you have to have something in the governor that allows it to do that. Otherwise, it's just when you get to a point, it'll go, well, wait a minute, we are severely under speed, so start back up. So there's a couple ways you can do it, but just the easiest way to explain it is there's a little gate in there that it kind of lifts everything up, grabs the pilot valve and says, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to go all the way up to perpetual overspeed, which means you go all the way to this way. So it grabs, if you think about that way, it grabs the pilot valve, manually grabs it, lifts it all the way up, just says you are overspeed. So an overspeed on a twin is going to drain oil and just let it go all the way that way. It just holds it there, oil drain. All right. Some aircraft have accumulators, as I mentioned. So an accumulator, you're going to see these in large aircraft systems. We don't have too many of them on small aircraft. I can't think of anything other than the prop. And they can come in several different types. There's two types right here. One is a toilet bowl ball. And you can see by the drawing, it has oil on one side, air on the other, and a diaphragm. So what you do as the mechanic, when you're servicing these, you put air in here. And you will put, let's say, 100 psi of air in here. And what's it going to do to the diaphragm? It's going to make it go all the way over here and follow this contour. Fills up that ball. There's nothing but air. But as the governor pumps up 125, 200 psi of oil, it's going to come in here and force this diaphragm back against this air pressure. What's it going to do to the air pressure there? And it's going to increase that. So it's going to balance out. So let's just say I'm making up numbers. We got 200 pounds on either side of this. Well, when we go into the feather position and we pull up on that lock, it shuts off a valve to this and locks the oil pressure in the accumulator. Just stop. So lifts up the valve, blocks off the oil to the accumulator, and it's sitting there with a charge on it. Same thing works. Accumulators can be cylinders like this too. So it just got a valve that goes back and forth in the middle. I don't know if it really shows it. Little piston. So as the oil comes in, it's going to push against this piston, which goes against an air charge right there.
Is that
So-
when you pull back to feather position?
Yeah, pull back to feather. It locks the oil into the accumulator under that charge. Can't get out. Nothing can get in. Nothing can get out. Lifts up the pilot valve. Drains off the oil. Okay. Then as soon as I go out of feather position, it drops the pilot valve. Flyweights start working, and it says, "Oh, okay, yeah, we are definitely in a underspeed." An underspeed. We're in an underspeed. And all that oil right there gets shot off into the propeller dome and forces the propeller dome. Now, it doesn't have to go much. If it can go that much, it'll take care of the job. So, shoots air to the propeller dome, forces it to come off its feather, and as soon as it does that, it starts spinning. Now, the second the prop starts spinning, guess what it's attached to?
The engine.
Attached to the engine. There's a little song. Propellers connected to the crankshaft. Crankshaft's connected to the camshaft. Camshaft's connected to the...
You didn't do the song for us.
Yeah, eventually it's going to get down to the oil pump gears. So if the prop is spinning, the oil pump gears are spinning. If the oil pump gears are spinning, and the prop governor is spinning, and the oil pump is spinning, kind of the engine doesn't know that the spark plugs haven't joined in yet. You could have the key off, or you could have the mixture all the way back. It won't know. So as long as the engine is windmilling, prop works, governor works, oil pressure works,
Electrical generator.
magnetos will work. You can turn them on or off, and you can do the whole thing. And the engine just be sitting there with no power. Then bring up the mixture and go, oh, we're gonna run, are we? So you follow? So again, so as long as the propeller itself is spinning, and you have oil in the engine, the whole prop system works without power. Maybe it's power from the other engine pulling you through the air. So it's just windmilling.
Mhm.
So it's going to work. So accumulator adds a little oil pressure.
Adds a little pool.
The governor and the oil pressure, the pump are going to work. It's going to bring it right into low pitch. And if you remember, turn on the fuel, turn on the spark, and the engine will start running as long as it worked. So pretty simple stuff, I think, right? Okay. All right, yeah, here's the. Let me see. What do we got? Normal operation. Oh, there's my accumulator. So it's got a little check valve. So the pump is just working. It goes through the system, but oh, by the way, we're just going to take some off. Goes through a check valve. Comes up in here, pressurizes, fills up the accumulator. Now we got all that pressure in there, right? But this little pin is holding that check ball off its seat, so we can go both in and out. Doesn't matter. Then we're going to go into feather. So when we go into the feather position, it's going to pull this off to the side. This lifts up this. Check ball locks into place. So now we just trapped all of this pressure right here. Can't go anywhere. That's accumulator. And now we're feathered. Then we want to go to unfeather. Bring it over to unfeather. Pushes down on the little ball. All the oil comes this way. Pilot valve is lined up so that it goes off to the propeller. If it's going to the prop in a twin, that is pressure to decrease pitch. So it's going to start running. All right, that's the governor. I can't think of any more things to tell you about the governor. That's just the way they are. So, when I ask you on the oral, you sit in front of me. Say, I have a governor. First thing I'm going to say is this off a single or a twin? How do you know the difference between it's off a single or off a twin?
Pressure in or pressure
Counterweights.
out.
You've already had that one, so you know. That's the thing. In an underspeed condition, are you putting oil out to the prop or draining the prop? If it's in an underspeed condition and you're putting oil out to the prop, it must be a. I don't know. Got to think it through. Underspeed condition, and I'm putting oil to the prop. So you have a governor. Oh, an underspeed, it's lined up. Oil to the prop. Now let's think about which one of these things used oil to increase RPM. Increase RPM. Which one used oil to increase RPM? Oil pressure to increase RPM?
Oh, no, this is
Oil pressure, that's a twin.
It's a twin.
twin, yeah.
Okay? Or if I said it's in an underspeed and it's draining oil. Underspeed, draining oil. Which one drains oil to go? Which one uses CTF to go this way?
Single.
Single. Or I can say it the other way around. It's overspeed. Oh, it's overspeed, and it puts oil out to the prop. Well, overspeed to the prop. Overspeed means it's got to go this way, oil to the prop. So which one takes oil to go this way?
Single.
Single. Okay, so you got it? That's just all there is to it. And then once you open it up and look at it, they're very, very simple. You have three ways that oil is going to flow through a governor. I don't have a real good picture to do that. There are three paths through the governor.
Oh, yeah.
One, overspeed. It's either going to go
To the propeller line.
to the propeller line out to the prop.
Or draining from the propeller.
Well, let's just pick one. Let's just say, what do you want, single or twin? Let's do single.
Okay.
All right, so we got a single engine. Overspeed. If it's overspeed, it means it has to. Okay, so we're going to find out that it's going to go. Okay, engine oil inlet will come up through here. There's some A holes and B holes.
He's been waiting to say that.
I have not. If your A hole is open, that's clockwise. The book says it backwards. It's still right. It said if the plugs are in the B hole, then it is clockwise.
It's funny. Remember the bumblebee butt?
Yeah, the bee butt.
B butts.
So you said bee hole?
Bee hole.
Thought it was funny.
If your B hole is open, then it's going to be counterclockwise.
Yes, sir.
Or maybe it'll be ACW, which stands for After clockwise, anti-clockwise.
It's It's anti-clockwise?
It's anti. It's after clockwise. Anti-clockwise. Some things say anti. All right.
What's after clockwise?
So there are, you'll see it when you open up the governor, there are two plugs, one on top, one on the bottom. So if the A hole's open, it's clockwise. Because I think of A as being clockwise and B as being the second one, which is counterclockwise. That's the way I think about things. So I'd say A hole opens clockwise, B hole opens counterclockwise. So I think almost all of them have the A hole open. You see how many times I can say it?
I knew he was
It's just stand up now, like we're trying to get through.
I'm laughing
thinking
because
of
I
flies
said
and
A hole.
stuff.
It's even funny when we say B hole because it's like I'll edit that part out. Don't worry. All right. Huh? You finally catching on to that? That I never edit anything. How do we say that? Okay. So, engine oil comes in. It's going to go through the little hole around the outside of the gears. Anybody tells me it goes through the middle, guess what?
Automatic fail.
Yeah, put your name back on the board and come back later.
So they gotta go back to the.
When you get your head out of your B hole.
That's right. Not a word.
Okay. So,
Oh, the A-hole's full.
let's go on speed real quick. So on speed, that means that the oil is not going to the prop. It's not being drained from the prop. So the outlet for these gears has been blocked off. So it's going to run. So it's got to go somewhere. So it's going to go up through here, through a relief valve, and back around to
The inlet side of the pump.
literally the inlet side of the pump, and it'll just keep recirculating. If you have not heard these pumps run yet in the lab,
Yeah.
they are loud and they get really hot really fast because you're talking about 200 to 350 psi. It's a lot of pressure. They're loud and they get warm. All right, so we go into
Overspeed.
overspeed. All right, so we're talking about a single. So overspeed means it's too flat. So we got to increase pitch. What increases it? Oil pressure. We got to add oil pressure. So we went into, what did I say? Overspeed. Well, that means it lifts the pilot valve up because it just has to. Pilot valve goes up. It's going to align it so that we get oil pressure is going to come out of this line, and this little piece right there is going to raise up. It'll go around it. It's not drawn very accurately, and off to the prop line, going to the propeller, to the front of the dome, increasing the pitch until we're on speed.
Yeah.
Okay, then it goes back to on speed, recirculates through the relief valve. That's the noisy thing. I think it chatters a lot. Okay, we go into a underspeed, drop the pilot valve down. We need to drain oil. So it'll find there's a route. Again, not the right drawing. There's a route. Then when it drops around, it's going to come out and just. This one says it comes through here. It drops right through the middle of this shaft and drains right off into the engine. Got it? It's that simple. It's so simple. Break time?
That's about, yep.
Good. I can edit that stuff out now.
Right.